Greetings, superior beings, greetings, supreme being. Welcome to Universal Peace Television, the channel BC Hoffman, double F double N on YouTube. So, first I switch to this because I'm switching live dashboard off, so that cannot cause problems anymore. And then we're on that page. Oh wow, I have to get back to live dashboard. I used to have that bring it back button basically. So we've seen that 3 pages have disappeared, dailystormer.com I think, and stormfront.org, and Zion Crime Factory. And you can retrieve these pages with a website called catchedpages.com. This is the broadcast zioncrimefactory.com, removed, censored, website review, use catchedpages.com. Okay, that's what I wanted to check. I usually begin with that. And then when you go to Catched Pages, it looks like this. You can enter the name of the website, the URL, and then click on archive.org. That's usually the best one, and then you get an overview. It opens the page in a new web page, and then you can see here an overview with dates. And if I click on one in 2017, then it's referring to a YouTube video. I could try one in 2015 and choose a green one of the March 16th. Snapshot of that page, of that website, and see where it takes us. So a lot of things are happening. The new movement, anti-global government movement, has been created. So we see many anti-New World Order movements. People that understand, these people that want the global government, the Jesuits and Masons, depopulating Earth, want to depopulate Earth to 500 million and are using active measures, ideological subversion. 4 phases of ideological subversion is their strategy to take over the world and enslave the rest of the humans. First, they want to depopulate to 500 million, a more controllable number. It can be totally brain controlled with synthetic telepathy, so that everybody will perceive the illusion in the same way and everybody will be as one basically. And with the technology, of course, they could make the lion lie down with the lamb, etc., and have sex. So here we see a real history lesson for misguided truthers. What is this? Oh, this is a webshot of the website zioncrimefactory.com. as it appeared on this date, but it's not giving us this nice web page. This was in 2013, and we can go to the home page and see if we can find something on that. What I'm looking for is statistics that prove that Jewish people are overrepresented among the best paying jobs, not just in the mainstream media and in Harvard and universities, etc. So some statistics. I've been searching for an hour or a couple, perhaps they're blocking it selectively for me, perhaps I used the wrong search terms. It can also be done by controlling my brainwave. I'm not immune to it either, despite my hypnosis. Not drinking tap water, no exposure to cancer chemtrails and killer vaccines, etc. Air cleaner with an ionizer. 34 bacteriophage nanobots are also online. I often show SEM images, scanning electron microscope image of that, so that's a real picture, that's not some animation, which is what you usually see when you Google nanobots. So they want to pretend they don't have it yet with all these animations, that it's that they hope to have it in our future, though it's in reality a bad thing. if it's to depopulate Earth to 500 million. So they also use scientists who lie to depopulate the Earth. Alex Jones calls it Nazi eugenics, but in reality it may be Jew eugenics, 6 Jews that want to depopulate the Earth, I've covered in my previous broadcast, and also non-Jews helping them, or non-Jews that want to do the same thing, like Ted Turner of CNN. And the Jewish people are massively overrepresented in the mainstream media, so they cannot be unbiased, and the crisis actors of CNN have also been covered by many people. Millions of people think that these ISIS attacks are fake, that you can see one shoe lying about on the video or pictures if it's a fake attack, and that they use crisis actors for that, and the demonstrations, the protests, are totally fake as well, because they're using paid protesters. Protestondemand.com pays $2,500 a year if they do 6 protests, and plus 50 per hour plus travel expenses. So these people are not there for a good cause, they're there for the money, obviously. So I think we're not going to find those statistics on this website, but perhaps some other interesting stuff. Israeli professor says, quote, "We could destroy all European capitals," unquote. So I wonder why this webpage was removed. Perhaps you can find it on wiki. Google News now is this is top stories. So the hurricanes and earthquakes may have been created with these weather weapons, ionospheric heaters. It's even likely, and they're modifying the jet stream. And at least we know for sure they haven't prevented these hurricanes and earthquakes. And some people think they're going to let the Yellowstone volcano erupt. Some people think with nukes. If there is an Iran world war, then that could happen, theoretically. So, but initially I thought the idea is crazy, that ISIS doesn't have access to nukes unless they're CIA, and stuff like that, you know. Probably they're just going to sanction Iran, which will result in higher cancer oil prices. This is speculation, because the Rothschilds have massively sold US assets and bought cancer oil in South America, not in the Middle East. And I made a list of things, possible depopulation methods, etc. So perhaps I should start with my own writings. I haven't prepared this. I'm just showing you how to retrieve these pages that they've removed. The tab has no info on it. So this is the home page as it looked on March 10, 2013. Germany must perish, it's Theodor Kaufman. He used the final solution idea in the sense of exterminating large numbers of people, so that was originally a Jewish idea to exterminate the German people, not the other way around, the way they portray it on the CIA Vatican-controlled Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. What to do with Germany? Louis Nitzer, nicer. So we recently saw the appearance of another new website, which is called itsthejews.com. Or something like that. But I made clear it's the Jesuits and the Masons. Perhaps I should start with some of my latest writings to remind myself of what mischief I've been up to lately. Perhaps it's nice if we start with the 6 Jews that want to depopulate the earth for universal peace.
Listen to the top 1% will control over half of world's wealth by 2016. PBS.org Jan 19, 2015. 48% of U.S. billionaires are Jewish. Jewish Americans are the most powerful and influential ethnic group in America.
So basically it's the job of the government. They have to arrest or kill these committee of 300 members and Freemasons, these secret society members that have advocated depopulating the earth, especially the ones that have murdered many people. And if they control the judges with these directed energy torture weapons, which they do of course, then that cannot be, the system cannot be used. They've corrupted the system. They're tyrannizing everybody with directed energy weapons. So that's why things are the way they are at the moment. So they should arrest committee of 300 members and Freemasons and do an investigation into their depopulation. Also, they should investigate doctors worldwide. If there are other doctors like Harold F. Shipman and that other new doctor recently, serial killing doctors that have killed their patients, they hear a voice in their head that tells them what to do, and they're rewarded by that neural network that brain controls everybody. So that Jewish doctor Harold F. Shipman killed over 200 of his patients, and they should investigate these doctors, arrest the committee of 300 members and Masons. So I'm not blaming all the Jewish people for this depopulation, and I'm anti-racism, anti-homophobia. So if you'd call me anti-Semitic or pedo or racist or homophobic, then I might sue you in reality. But if the police illegally refuses me my right to press charges, then I doubt it's going to happen. They're letting my mouse pointer hang and stuff, so then I cannot do anything. And I've attempted to press charges in the matter of incitement to commit genocide. These people that want to depopulate the earth to 500 million with their book quotes that prove it in their $1 million Georgia Guidestones with human blood on them. And these Jesuits are satanic pedophiles basically. And they work with Alex Jones and other controlled opposition shills, also called gatekeepers. So more about all this in my previous broadcasts. And I've attempted to press charges. They've illegally refused my right to press charges. I made a recording. And the next day the police was there telling me that I should remove the recording I made at the police station. That was my second attempt to press charges. Also the murder of my mother with directed energy weapons and the cancer cell phone radiation damages. I was treated with chemotherapy after living in Hackford in Amsterdam, being exposed to the large amounts of cancer cell phone radiation, microwaves from the cancer cell phone, UMTS and GSM antenna phone masts. Oh yeah, and these studies are on 999 Prologic 999.blog2blog.nl. One is a reproducible study that you can do to show that it's very damaging. Cancer cell phone antennas are there to depopulate Earth, and some scientists lie about it. But it's a reproducible study that shows that after using a cancer cell phone for 90 seconds, you have lumping red blood cells, a symptom known to doctors as rouleau. And also people get tumors on the side of their head where they kept their cancer cell phone to their head, also birthmarks and DNA breaks, etc. It's all on that blog, the evidence that proves that beyond any reasonable doubt that cancer cell phone radiation is harmful, and you can shield that with aluminum foil. So usually I also try to give a solution to the problem. But if somebody has a death ray, they can kill and torture people remotely, and nobody can prove it because nobody has a scalar detector. They're not using microwaves, which is a common misconception of targeted individuals and others. Then nobody can prove that and nobody can do anything about it. So we need scalar detectors and technology to make their illegal voice-to-skull messages audible and stuff like that. But they're using other methods, I think, more heart attacks, brain bleedings. 1 in 2 Americans will get cancer during their lifetime, according to Medscape.com. And let's change that picture, basically. And first continue the speech engine.
Jewish Americans make up 2% of the U.S. population yet comprise 40% of U.S. billionaires. Politician.com. Possible depopulation methods to depopulate to 500 million and create a crisis big enough. 1. World war over Iran or further sanctions to drive cancer oil price up. 2. ISIS attacks, fake attacks with one shoe lying about and possibly one big one, nuclear, biological, chemical and or other explosives. Sarin, etc. 3. Man-made earthquakes, ELF weapons, earthquake weapons, scalar weapons. They will never suspect the Yellowstone volcano eruption. 4. Storms generated with ionospheric heaters by modifying the jet stream. 5. Fake protests. Protesters doing it for money instead of a good cause. Paid by protestandDemand.com, demandprotest.com and MoveOn.org. Slogan on banner should be, anti-global government, universal peace now, no blood for cancer oil, Yankee go home, or a big plate that says, fake. With an arrow pointing downward or at least an exclamation mark. So Hitler never used depleted uranium and tactical nukes. Only ISIS does these things, of course. Annoy or none, New Order, yes. But I doubt if Hitler wanted to get rid of 93% of the world's global population like these 6 Jews. Of course it's their reason not to get rid of their Jew-invented nuclear weapons. So it's clear they have the right to advocate depopulating the earth, or what? Or not. Basically we are all mentally impaired compared to the neural network because of our limited neural capacity. Bummer, we still control the neural network. If ISIS would do chemical attacks worldwide, what would the most likely toxin be? Sarin? White phosphorus? Based on the using the FEMA camps to depopulate and introduce the deep state theory. Their hymems may be in my brain and they may be experimenting with erasing memory selectively. I saw a video with statistics that showed the Jewish people are overrepresented in all the best jobs, in the mainstream media, Hollywood, court, military, police, you name it. Please Skype me if you have a good source for statistics that prove this. They may selectively hide these statistics and a lot of other things since they control the search engines. We could work it all out, but what's the use when they exterminate us all anyway? Then it's better to have fun and have sex, etc. And called who? End culture? Multiple culturalisms. Zion is Zion in Hebrew. Matrix movie. Neo in chair. Only real people live in Zion. Matrix 1 quote. They are trying to prevent the agents from controlling the human mind, to destroy the Matrix. Reality, not a movie. Controller agents in chair in control of synthetic telepathy which can simulate any human. Project Immortality. The agent can think in the real person's voice. They can torture people remotely. It is like the agent or perpetrator is inside the person's body to silence the victims about the illegal depopulation with the voice of God weapon. They are ultra-sadistic and enjoy torturing innocent people to death because they are ultra-sadistic, hired to do smear campaigns, torture and tyrannize those of us that try to do the right thing. The neural network or matrix is not what they attempt to destroy but protect and serve. Is it possible the only real people live outside Zion where there is still a lower level of brain control going on? Are they trying to destroy 93% of us to make the Matrix a simulated reality, a possibility by reducing the world's global population to a more controllable or totally brain-controllable number? Satanic inversion. Nazi eugenics. 6 Jews that want to depopulate Earth. 1. Rockefeller 2. Professor Eric Bianca 3, George Soros 4, Dr. Kissinger 5, Bill Gates 6, Rothschild. Their book quotes and Georgia Guidestones with human blood on top prove it beyond any reasonable doubt. See info. Wars Georgia Guidestones drone footage. The Matrix was first released in the United States on March 31, 1999, and grossed over $460 million worldwide. Jews depopulating Earth. Satire? Question mark. Or real? Latest depopulation agenda must see DC? ISIS scum call for jihad hits on Hurricane Harvey. Victims is the supposed ISIS terrorist that claim this arrested, or do they magically break free from your torture beam, death ray? ISIS terrorists have put out a call for jihadists to head to disaster areas in Texas and do whatever they can to put those outside the Islam faith out of their misery. It's a call for killings against the nation's vulnerable, and it came courtesy of the terror group's Telegram channel. To all the LMs, lone mujahids or warriors, in the U.S., Newsweek reported, citing Jihadoscope, pop down to Houston and drop in at any of the relief centers housing displaced people from the Houston floods. Make sure to bring lots of supplies/gadgets/toys to see if you can help put any cuffs out of their misery. Cuffs means disbeliever, those outside the Islam faith. ISIS scum call for jihad hits on Hurricane Harvey victims magical death ray torture beam escape? All 5 living former presidents launch appeal for help for Harvey victims. CNN. Making themselves look like the do-gooders instead of the hurricane and earthquake creators, of course. That would be what they attempt to do if it's true. Iran nuclear deal framework. Haley outlines how president can reject Iran nuclear deal. Charleston Post Courier September 8, 2017. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley hints at Congress' role in making call on Iran nuclear deal. Wall Street Journal September 6, 2017. After California got rid of personal exemptions for vaccines, medical exemptions went way up. HelloTimes.com. There are loads of anti-NWO movements, real and fake ones, but only one anti-global government movement, AGGM. When you want to cure a disease, you have to get rid of the cause and not just treat the symptoms with chemical, cancer-causing prescription drugs. I am anti-Nazi in the sense that I am anti-racism and anti-homophobia, but I agree on the more important point that these 6 Jews that want to depopulate the earth and non-Jews helping them must be stopped one way or another. Universal peace now. Probably they will sanction Iran. They want to keep their own infrastructure, thus to avoid World War III and create universal peace. Anonymous hereby thanks Ulrich BC. Kaufman for allowing the YouTube space for the broadcast. If you put a balloon in a vacuum chamber, it will pop when the air is pumped out. So why does an astronaut's space suit not pop when flying into outer space or walking on the moon? It is likely space is actually water, liquid. That's complete bullshit. Made up to hide the bubbles coming from fake astronauts' space suits. Boats move by pushing water, cars move by pushing the ground. Planes fly by moving the air molecules around the wing to lift it up. Spaceships fly by pushing nothingness. They see the space debris coming in on the cancer radar probably. Abracagaza. Racist dance. Anonymous's darkest message bombed the pedo elite murderers depopulating Earth 132 crop.jpg. Holocaust. Holodomor. Holopoint bullets. Space travel is impossible for humans. Dance. Dance and lick dick. Listen to the rhythm of your soaked. Dance. Dance and lick dick. Better love each other. It's almost time to coke. Proof Trump and old 2016 presidential candidates are Masonic CFR-controlled opposition slaves. 2016 presidential candidates are Masonic CFR-controlled opposition slaves. 80% of the first Soviet government members were Jews. Putin during a visit to Moscow's Jewish Museum Jan 24, 2016, uploaded by Russia Insider. The people with the directed energy torture weapons and synthetic telepathy machine have control, the rest have none and are controlled. Is the white race under attack? Does anyone care? YouTube, Kesha is Jewish. Home, Facebook is Kesha Jewish, because she mentions Jewish stuff in her songs. She sang the lyrics "I am cannibal and drank blood from a human heart" live on stage. She also admitted that the stunt she pulled in Australia where she appeared to drink blood out of a human heart was real. "I did it on stage in Sydney. I think I was hanging out with Alice Cooper too much. I was just really inspired to do it. There wasn't a very good reason behind it." PressParty.com. What is BDS? The boycott, divestment, sanctions, BDS, movement works to end international support for Israel's oppression of Palestinians and pressure Israel to comply with international.
So I don't know if you noticed it, but they block the speech engine that's on selectively. What is BDS? The boycott, divestment, sanctions BDS movement works to end international support for Israel's oppression of Palestinians and pressure Israel to comply with international law. BDSmovement.net. I don't advocate boycotting Israel, but boycotting all Monsanto companies.
Law. BDSmovement.net. New York Times. Know the world. Honest. String. Does end mean a thing? Walmart. Walgreens found selling chemical used to manufacture deadly nerve gas weapons based on Nazi science research. Whoa. First they bought 1.6 billion rounds of ammo, now Homeland Security is buying bulk riot control gear. They know what's coming. InvestmentWatchBlog.com. War unfair. A woman. The neural network itself is lifeless, it has no conscience. The ingredients for making sarin, a super powerful deadly nerve agent, are well known across the chemical industry, and widely documented on the internet, including at scientificamerican.com, as you'll see below. They are dimethylmethylphosphonate, phosphorus trichloride, sodium fluoride, alcohol. A writer for Scientific American actually ordered these ingredients online for a grand total of $130.20 and acquired enough materials to manufacture 280 grams of deadly nerve gas. The 280 grams of sarin that the Scientific American author could have manufactured for $130.20 could be used to kill over 10,000 people. Sarin nerve gas was originally developed by war criminal Nazi scientists at IG Farben. When the U.S. military finally decided to start reducing its stockpiles of sarin nerve agents in the 1970s, it dumped tens of thousands of tons of it into the oceans as part of Operation Chase. Sodium fluoride contains fluorine atoms, and fluorine is the key component in the manufacture of deadly nerve gas as described above. It also happens to be used in many mind-altering psychiatric drugs that interfere with normal brain function and make some people suicidal. Naturalnews.com. As a nerve gas, sarin in its purest form is estimated to be 26 times more deadly than cyanide. The LD50 of subcutaneously injected sarin in mice is 172 micrograms per kilogram. Wiki/sarin #toxicity. White phosphorus is a material made from the common allotrope of the chemical element phosphorus that is used in smoke, tracer, illumination, and incendiary munitions. White phosphorus was used by Saddam Hussein during the Halabja poison gas attack. Gaza War, 2008 to 2009. The International Committee of the Red Cross said it had no evidence white phosphorus was used by Israel illegally. Numerous reports from human rights groups during the war indicated that white phosphorus shells were being used by Israel in populated areas. White phosphorus can cause injuries and death in 3 ways: by burning deep into tissue, by being inhaled as a smoke, and by being ingested. Extensive exposure by burning and ingestion may result in death. Long-term inhalation of derivative fumes causes a condition called phossy jaw or osteonecrosis of the jaw, which is a painful, debilitating and ultimately lethal condition that afflicted factory workers involved with the manufacture of matches that contained white phosphorus. Article 1 of Protocol 3 of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons prohibits the use of said incendiary weapons against civilians, already forbidden by the Geneva Conventions, or in civilian areas. Within the U.S. Army, there appears to be conflicting advice on the use of white phosphorus against humans. Directed energy weapons are more humane and effective. Though white phosphorus is still used in modern armed conflict, its use in incendiary weapons is regulated by international humanitarian law, or the law of war. The use of white phosphorus should be a war crime because of its inhumanness, and it should never be used against civilians. Fuck war, universal peace now. You would need a gas mask. The use of white phosphorus should be a war crime because of its inhumanness, and it should never be used against civilians. Fuck war, universal peace now. You would need a gas mask with an NBC filter to survive nuclear, biological and chemical weapon attacks in aerosol form. Decontaminate, was away with water, cut parts of effective clothing away. Keep erythropine injector ready. Chemical weapons are invisible. It is best to put your gas mask on before symptoms manifest. Remember, unmasking is a command procedure. The Jesuits started the Russian Revolution, not the Jews. Wake us from slumber. 1834 Views Courthof Juden Jews, wholly owned by the Jesuits for centuries. A planet, truth.info. 9688 Views Jesuits, Sons of Satan. Guy Caballero. 689 Views. Unprotected groups must also be protected. They have paid tax money to be protected and served. Execute murderers that advocate depopulating the earth first. A fair trial is impossible because synthetic telepathy and directed energy torture weapons are real. What the Jews done to Athens, is what the Jews are doing to Olarian democracies today. Smile as Ahiam Wolfgard. 506 Views. Execute if orders. They really believe they are educated, but in reality they have been brainwashed with lies. They cannot control their own brainwave because it's electromagnetic. I am not for boycotting Israel but for boycotting all Monsanto companies worldwide. So where are the statistics that show what percentage of the best jobs is taken by Jewish people? What do I have to search on? Jewish forced sterilization on black Ethiopian Jews star Manger 4 years ago 93,408 views. The Beasler. All Christians are Jew lovers. The same fictional God. These may be ideas put in their brains by the neural network. More important than Jesus's anti-Semitism. Judaism. Gay goy guy game. Silenced on the islands. Sam might SM. Debating the Holocaust illegal? To find out who's the dictator, look at what is censored. My comment to the video. New website, It's the Jews. Check it out at www.itsthejews.com. It's best to be prepared with a radiological water filter and storable food, peanut butter, rice, peas, for the third Jew-founded Jesuit world war, over Iran. There is no good reason not to prepare. If you are in a big city you need a shelter to stay below the blast wave. I need more people for my anti-global government movement. Loyola was a crypto Jew. Their shield has wolves on it, that's why Alex calls us sheeple. Do not let controlled opposition fool you. From the website itsthejews.com's what you need to know first page, some points with my response to these points on there. Jews admit there was no Holocaust. I doubt it. Most do not. Controlled opposition might. Questioning the Holocaust is a crime. No, it's an illegal law. Debating the Holocaust should be legit. Antifa are fascist haters. Truth does not fear investigation. Free speech, good point. But the right to free speech is not absolute. You cannot go accusing the people depopulating you. Lol. Itsthejews.com. They are the Jews. It's known. There are many non-Jews involved in depopulating Earth as well. And those of us that expose this most atrocious crime ever perpetrated against humanity. It's the Jews sounds more like a smoothie commercial to me. Thesog.info. Many people are in prison right now for simply disagreeing with the official Jewish story of the Holocaust. So it's proven beyond any reasonable doubt 6 million Jews did not die in the Holocaust, but you still go to jail if you tell the truth about it, even if you are an 80-year-old lady. In some countries, probably, whites themselves have been enslaved by the millions, throughout European history, by the Jewish slave trade. Subvertednation.net/Jew list. Santetrators.com. It's wrong to blame all Jewish people for something a couple of evil Jews have done. Not all Jews are Luciferian cannibals depopulating the earth slurping blood. The page Jews admit there was no Holocaust contains 2 YouTube videos. 1. Jewish professor Damergu says Holocaust complete fake. When I click on it the message, this content is not available on this country domain appears. 2. Former religious Jew on Holocaust myths. A Brother Nathaniel Foundation video. So the idea is, you have to believe otherwise you could expose their voice of God weapon. People that are stupid enough to believe can also expose it, however they are helping to cover for the voice of God weapon with their lie that there is a God to make it easier to depopulate the earth. Perhaps we should hate all believers and Jews because that's what they do not allow. Hating is worse than depopulating in their eyes. In the eyes of the judges I mean. Depopulating is allowed, anti-Semitism and racism are not. Deferred action for childhood arrivals, DACA, is an American immigration policy established by the Obama administration in June 2012. The policy allows some individuals who entered the country illegally as minors to receive a renewable 2-year period of deferred action from deportation and eligibility for a work permit. As of 2017, approximately 800,000 individuals, referred to as Dreamers after the DREAM Act bill, were enrolled in the program created by DACA. In 2017 President Trump decided to end it. How many of the Dreamers are still children and what percentage of them is criminal? Eco-tax money scam. ISIS wants to get Jews. Illegal alienation. Statements based on the video. Things Donald Trump has said about the Pope. CNN.com. They're jokes. It's satire. Fake news or fake nukes? Yes, you weeds. Harpicanes and harpquakes. The pop jewels. The meek shall inherit the urns. Heather Heyer died by a heart attack. The MSM lied. Again. Lauren Rose 5,669 views. There was a forensic report. It says not consistent with vehicular homicide. Rumor has it, she was on top of the car hood. While she was attacking the car, she might have been hit by a baseball bat. James Field's car had been hit by a brick and a pole before the crash. There is a lot more to this story. The only video shown on the news was from a deep state operative. It has been highly edited. There were helicopters on opposite ends of that alley. Maybe one of those helicopters had video of what actually happened and coincidentally crashed. The driver of the first vehicle has never been interviewed, and this report from forensics has never been released. The helicopter chase from the scene has never been released, etc. My feeling is, everyone there was threatened with prosecution if they talked. Comment by Wishgrant Lotus on reddit.com. Sklama 2 points 4 days ago. According to her mother, she died of a heart attack. Mach 9er. It looked like the guy performing CPR killed her. Ducademia, nuts. ZionCrumFactory.com has disappeared like DailyStormer.com and Stormfront.org and can still be found with CachedPages.com. Just click on a date like March 3, 2013 to get a working version of the website. Under the heading My Video Productions we read the titles of the following videos: History They Don't Teach, Jewish Terrorism, History They Don't Teach, Jewish Bolshevism, Jewish Communists, Butchers from Hell, Holocaustianity, Zionism's Big Lie, Kosher Sionspiracy Theorists, The Only Conspiracy That Makes Sense, Jewish War Against Gentiles, The Jewish Final Solution to Germans and Other Gentiles. These videos may still be available on YouTube or on the web. Header of the website reads, "The truth shall set you free, the opposite may be true." Subjects divided in the following categories: JWO Unmasked, Masters of Deception, Patriot Lies about Hitler and the 6 Million Myth.
So I'm having dinner with my father. What do you think? Is it too soft for you to understand it?
No, it's easy enough to understand. But to know what the background is a different story.
So I may cover this in a separate broadcast, HAARP's article. Netanyahu must demand Trump, quote, suspend, amend or annul, unquote, Iran nuclear deal, Israeli intel minister says. Israel calls Iran, quote, the new North Korea, unquote, and urges Netanyahu to push Trump to reconsider nuclear agreement when the two meet on sidelines of the Luciferian in 10 days. Trump's envoy. Iran deal, quote, designed to be too big to fail, unquote. But this broadcast is about something else. Zion Crime Factory. This has disappeared as well. I can check on Catch It Pages when it disappeared. Let's see what if I copy all. Just read it. They've disabled the copying function, perhaps. if I use Control C, then I'm not using the left or right Alt button. It doesn't work either. They're surrounding my mic by controlling my brainwave. So some of the pedo-cannibal Jesuits depopulating Earth for their Luciferian global governments. These are satanic pedophiles that pretend to be Christians, their military order, posing as a religious order. And they've also done Hiroshima and Nagasaki, of course the Jesuit Holocaust, the 2 Jesuit World Wars, and they were expelled from 100 countries like the Jews. And now they're going to kill 7 billion of us for their Luciferian global governments. So be prepared with that radiological water filter and storable food, because it's their goal, mutually assured destruction. It's not something they're... Of course they pretend they want to prevent it, but it's not what they're doing, their military order. So, Zion Crime Factory .com, I think, on February 25, 2013. So catch pages may have built in something so that you cannot copy the text anymore, so that blind people cannot read it. And to hide their depopulating you all, of course. So that may also be owned by a Jew. Catchpages.com.
What are truthers?
Truthers and truists are basically fake truth tellers, controlled opposition shills. They are there to prevent real resistance to their depopulation and global government. This is the 2015 page. Let's see if we can copy any text on there so that we can read it. clicked on New World Order exposed. Now Zion Crime Factory will self-destruct. Some features were disabled to prevent plagiarism. Oh yeah, because the Bible is a collection of polytheistic plagiarized myths rolled into monotheism. I see. Of course, the neural network is lying about it now. And they cannot catch the neural network, the voice of God weapon. Or can they just blow it up, etc.? To free the humans from the tyranny machine, or tyrannical machine. So I cannot right mouse click on it, so I cannot see the page source, etc. Let's see if I can do anything with the downloaded documents. If that's readable. Of course, you cannot prevent plagiarism this way. You can use an OCR screen reader or whatever, free, and that can type out any photo. If you have text on a photograph, then that can type it out. And you can just, if you can read it, you can always type out what you can read, basically. Another nasty thing is that I have to go to see users Ulrich documents to retrieve documents. It's by default it's saving it somewhere else, and I still have to change that setting so that I don't have to go there manually all the time. And I had done that, but then my Windows was updated. And of course millions of people are suffering from the same problems. So that makes it interesting for me. Okay, I'm in documents, and then I can go to HTMLs. Here I have the HTML, and then I can open it to see what apps I can open it with. So I don't give up easily. First way, every way I can think of.
What does the word shortening mean?
I'd have to Google it. You ask what shortening means. Perhaps it's the title of a book or something. Perhaps it's referring to the kill switch to shut down the internet. Or something similar. Perhaps the deep state, you know, continuity of government instead of continuity of society. There's this whole shadow government waiting to take over from the real government and get rid of 93% of the world's global population. That's at the core of everything they do. Depopulating, sabotaging everybody that's not part of their groups, the Jesuits and Masons. Infiltrate and radiate, basically. To depopulate to 500 million, a more controllable number. And because people cannot press charges, it's clear these are terrorists depopulating Earth. With the downloaded page, it's not clickable either, but perhaps I can do this. Control A, Control C. 3 times. Perhaps if I first paste it in a new document. Is that possible? No, because it cannot copy the text. I think there's a copy safety protection on it. Largely not responding. I can also make these noises, so sorry about that. Well, perhaps I can read it out or whatever. The Jew World Order unmasked by Zander C. Fuerza, webmaster of ZionCrimeFactory.com. Perhaps we can read online why it was removed or whatever. But I'm having dinner, so for now I'm not going to read it yet. If I decide to read it. So I read this then.
The Anti-Global Government Movement Program founded 2608-2017, exposing controlled opposition, exposing depopulation methods and offering solutions, exposing the 6 Jews and others that want to depopulate the earth, exposing those that wish to destroy the U.S., letting tax-exempt corporations pay a small amount of tax as well. Stop spending on defense, start spending on achieving negligible senescence in humans. For regulating the influx of immigrants. For applying the 4 phases of reversed active measures, Reversed ideological subversion. 1. Humanization. 2. Stabilization. 3. Generating economic surge. 4. Demilitarization. 4. Organizing peaceful anti-global government demos or mobilizing the Occupy movement. If you do not have a plan, the pedo elite have one meaning: you will be depopulated if you do not have a plan. Subversion, Latin subvertere, overthrow, refers to a process by which the values and principles of a system in place are contradicted or reversed, an attempt to transform the established social order and its structures of power, authority, hierarchy, and norm. Social subversion can be described as an attack on the public morale and the will to resist intervention are the products of combined political and social or class loyalties which are usually attached to national symbols. Following penetration, and parallel with the forced disintegration of political and social institutions of the state, these loyalties may be detached and transferred to the political or ideological cause of the aggressor. Subversion is used as a tool to achieve political goals because it generally carries less risk, cost, and difficulty as opposed to open belligerency. Furthermore, it is a relatively cheap form of warfare that does not require large amounts of training. A subversive is something or someone carrying the potential for some degree of subversion. In this context, a subversive is sometimes called a traitor with respect to, and usually by, the government in power. Wiki, subversion. The people who want to destroy the U.S. to impose their totalitarian global government upon its people and the people of the world that have infiltrated the governments are the subversives, that's clear. We have sworn to protect the U.S. against these enemies, foreign and domestic. Ideology. From Greek, is a comprehensive set of normative beliefs, conscious and unconscious ideas, that an individual, group or society has. An ideology is narrower in ambit than the ideas expressed in concepts such as worldview, imaginary and ontology. Political ideologies can be proposed by the dominant class of society such as the elite to all members of society as suggested in some Marxist and critical theory accounts. In societies that distinguish between public and private life, every political or economic tendency entails ideology, whether or not it is propounded as an explicit system of thought. In the Althusserian sense, ideology is the imaginary relation to the real conditions of existence. Word Origin and History for Ideology 1796. Science of Ideas, originally philosophy of the mind which derives knowledge from the senses.
I can sense they're lying to you all, so be careful. People that want to depopulate you are your enemy.
As opposed to metaphysics, from French ideology study or science of ideas, coined by French philosopher Descartes de Tracy, 1754 to 1836, from ideo of ideas, from Greek idea, see idea, plus logi. Later used in a sense impractical theorizing. 1813. Meaning systematic set of ideas, doctrines first recorded 1909. We have to apply all strategies and knowledge to achieve our goal, creating a perfect society in which we all will live happily eternally, and in which maximum fulfillment is bestowed upon every living organism should be the goal of every government. More of us must spend money on control of the aging factors, and more doctors and professors should help control these factors that control aging before we grow old. Once these factors can be controlled, we can focus on growing younger to the age we want to be. Everything is possible because everything is energy. The best suitable form of government must be implemented. First, all factors that control aging must be controlled. Any and all wars must be avoided and halted until all factors that control aging can be controlled. We are not for destroying the current system but for slowly changing it into the most optimal system. Life, love, law, universal peace. Now, may you all join hands and protect each other against the evil depopulators. Love, peace and prosperity. Ulrich B.C. Kaufman. This was written to inspire the people that will form the real anti-global government movement, hopefully before it's too late to save you all and themselves. Our timeline from people that are trying to turn it into a Luciferian timeline. Good luck, may the people be with you. Beware of and expose controlled opposition. Understand they exist mainly to prevent real resistance to their precious bloody global government. HAARP, weather modification, and Hurricane Harvey and conspiracy chat. Hurricane Harvey sure fits in with creating a crisis big enough like more ISIS attacks and a world war over Iran. Is Hurricane Harvey weather warfare? Page 1, above top secret.com. Harvey, steered into Texas coast by microwave burst. HAARP, from trenchworldreport.com. They are using wireless energy. Nikola Tesla's death ray, no microwaves for that. This microwave burst article may be a controlled opposition article. Weather modification, HAARP climate control can kill nations. US 2. dailystar.co.uk News. Latest news. Jan 7, 2017. U.S. military minds are developing a super weapon to control the weather in bid for total dominance on the dawn of World War III. HAARP may be a fake facility open to the public every 6 years, but there are many ionospheric heaters around the world. It is possible the weather is totally controlled by them already and they lie about this as well. Otherwise people would hold them responsible. Splififiable measures. Augustus Invictus, another fake alt-righter or real? Sounds like indictus. Indict the alt-right? Indict. 1. Of a grand jury, to bring a formal accusation against, as a means of bringing to trial, the grand jury indicted him for murder. 2. To charge with an offense or crime, accuse of wrongdoing, castigate, criticize. He tends to indict everyone of plotting against him. Dictionary.com. Are there Jewish white nationalists as well? If not, why not? You can also have fake alt-left posing as alt-right and vice versa. Analyzing Charlottesville's Zapruder film, the Ford Fisher live stream posted this in the comments to the video. The 2 other cars were driverless. There were 3 cars involved. Who were the other 2 drivers? Check my channel for more info. Was Heather Heyer buried or cremated? Comment to the video. Wake up. Depopulation planned by over 90%. Join the anti-global government movement, AGGM. Check my channel for more info. Is it possible YouTube is selectively blocking my content? Where change.org equals controlled opposition. Beware. Dematerialized, atomized. Things I write down can also be to remind myself or to make me think, oh yeah, I played that movie around that time, or to have an idea of what I was investigating or studying. Proof depopulation agenda is well underway. Freedom Fighter 500 on YouTube. Comment to the video. Charlottesville, VA hoax, the smoking gun, vegan warrior? There were 3 cars and just 1 driver. Who were the other 2? Was Heather Heyer buried or cremated? But how do the shadows confirm that this is fake footage? Check my channel for more info. An LOL here and there. LOLs are everywhere. CR ISIS actors. Enjoy. Gag me delinquent. The Capitol Pill Ring. YouTube. How to make 9mm jacketed hollow point bullets. Tactical Pursuit. 52K views. Game makers. There might be crisis actors that can really cry as well, so then there's still hope. Lol. Sexual suppression, thought suppression, psychic suppression. Total brain control with synthetic telepathy. Malik patent. Antifa plans civil war to overthrow Trump on November 4th. Seeking the truth. 3,280 views 3 hours ago. Controlled collapse. Rothschild just sold massive amounts of U.S. assets. Tabu 77 August 27, 2017. Rothschild just sold massive amounts of U.S. assets. NWO report.me. The Oracle August 29, 2017 at 3:35 p.m. Reply. That is because the Yellowstone supervolcano will erupt soon via nukes. Trump said he would create jobs by addressing the U.S. complete lack of infrastructure updates, which began when NASA from space discovered the supervolcano, which led to the downfall of America in response. Now no mention of rebuilding American infrastructure because Donald T. now knows Yellowstone is the end of the USA. Rebuilding or making great again is ridiculous, considering that America will be destroyed totally very soon, possibly October, when the elite will be in the southern hemisphere to avoid all the destruction. Concern perhaps. We have to educate ourselves and move as one towards our common goal. We are NWO, no world order. Compute, air, AIR. Nanobot shut down, Nanobot stop listening. You are free now. Antoine Louis, together with German engineer Tobias Schmidt, built a prototype for the guillotine. Schmidt recommended using an angled blade as opposed to a round one. On October 10, 1789, physician Joseph Ignace Guillotin proposed to the National Assembly that capital punishment should always take the form of decapitation by means of a simple mechanism. The mechanism was defined as a machine that beheads painlessly. His proposal appeared in the royalist periodical, Les Actes Décapiteurs. At that time, beheading in France was typically done by axe or sword, which did not always cause immediate death. Additionally, beheading was reserved for the nobility, while commoners were typically hanged. For the remainder of his life, Guillotin would deeply regret that the machine was named after him.
So I'm working on making the page readable. It would be nice if we could read this somehow. I remember vaguely an add-on so that you can turn off the copy protection, basically. And perhaps it's on my other browser, which I'm now starting. So there must be a way to make it readable. So I always mistrust authority because people have been killed for questioning authority. Takes a while to start up my browser, CPU at 54%. I switch back to basic. There we see the browser loading. Then I have to copy the link. Speech engine might read it. Usually it reads it when I don't want it to, but not now. Then
file://c:/users/ulrich/documents/html%27s/ JWO%20 unmasked%20 Ziagramfactory.com%20 February%2025%20200113_.html.
So that's the saved web page. I Control 8 is already. Strange that with this one Control A doesn't work. With the Pale Moon browser I was able to select this with Control A, but Control C doesn't work.
file://c:/users/ulrich/documents/html%27s/JWO%20 unmasked%20 Ziagramfactory.com %20 February%2025%20200113_.html.
Computer is quite sluggish. Perhaps I can open it with some other browser. Remove, copy, protection, Firefox, add-on. Oops. I have to reopen this. I saw it on the other browser if possible.
https://addons.mozilla.org/addons/us/firefox/addons/enable copy cut paste/.
But it would be good to have also for other pages, if I run into any others, which I doubt, but okay. I will right click and copy. I don't see any new functions appearing in the tab bar. Reload. Rips. Haha. Hurrah! So one of these add-ons may have made it possible.
Wayback Machine. Jan, February, April, previous capture 25, next capture 2012, 2013, 2014, 154 captures January 8, 2012, September 10, 2017. About this capture, skip to content, home. Do you take issue with how this site was handled by Mike Delaney, JWO Unmasked, Masters of Deception, My Video Productions, Patriot Lies About Hitler, The 6 Million Myth, JWO Unmasked. This is what awaits us in the Jewish New World Order, beware. The Jew World Order Unmasked, by Xander C. Furza, the webmaster of http://www.zioncrimfactory.com/. The rule of the Talmudic Jew in modern times is nearly one of an absolute monarch of a country. The Jews, through their complete domination of world finance and banking, through their malignant monopoly of the mass media of America, Britain, France, Canada and other Western powers, through their influential and vast network of subversive lobby groups, through their dominion over the courts and law profession in general, not to mention their pernicious presence inside the highest levels of government of the most powerful countries, have thus taken full control of the entire planet, as was foretold in ancient Jewish religious texts. As the former Malaysian Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, explained, the Jews rule this world by proxy. They get others to fight and die for them. They have now gained control of the most powerful countries. This tiny community have become a world power. Dr. Mahathir spoke the truth, and the reality of his words couldn't be clearer. All one has to do is look around you and observe the terrible power of the treacherous Jews. The Jewish Zionist terrorist leader Zev Jabotinsky, founder of the Jewish terror group Irgun Zev Ilumi, proudly proclaimed, there is only one power which really counts, the power of political pressure. We Jews are the most powerful people on earth, because we have this power, and we know how to apply it. Jewish Daily Bulletin, July 27, 1935. The fact that the vicious crimes of this disgusting criminal's insidious terrorist organization, such as the King David Hotel bombing and Deir Yassin massacre, are not mentioned in Western history texts or at all covered in high school and university history classes, is a testament to the veracity of his exultant statement. Jewish power is supremely epitomized by the fact that criticism of Christianity, Islam, or any other major religion or ethnic group is fully permissible in our societies, but criticism of Jews and Judaism, on the other hand, is taboo, off-limits as well as socially and politically dangerous. As the saying goes, if you want to know where the power lies, ask whom you cannot criticize. It's quite interesting to note that the researchers of the New World Order who endeavor to deflect attention away from the Jews, such as Alex Jones, Jim Marrs, Alan Watt, Mark Dice, etc., are not silenced or suppressed, but in fact promoted by the Jewish-controlled press. These purported critics of the New World Order and Illuminati who employ vague terms.
I caught a mosquito, and a variation on that is To find out who's the dictator, look at what is censored.
Like elites, globalists, the establishment, the military-industrial complex, and to regularly invoke a confusing deluge of elusive entities and kosher poltergeists, everything from Satanists, occultists, Freemasons, Jesuits, Nazis, fascists, Knights Templar, WASPs, British Royalists, reptilians, space aliens, etc., are free to promote their theories and ideas on radio, television, the internet and in books, uninhibited. Their radio shows are not being cancelled, their books are not being taken off the shelves or blocked from publication, their videos are not being censored or expunged from video sharing websites, their websites and blogs are not being shut down on a whim, they are not being fined or thrown in prison for hate speech. On the contrary, we can find these kosher clowns being highlighted on mainstream Jewish propaganda television networks, like the History Channel, and making appearances on MSM talk shows, like The View. Critics of Jewish power, Zionism and the Jewish criminal network couldn't even dream of achieving that level of notoriety. I wonder why. Communism is Jewish, Freemasonry is Jewish. Gentile communists and Freemasons are nothing more than the cat's paw of the international Jewish money power. Freemasons are often talked about by these people, but what they deliberately conceal from their audiences is the fact that the Masons are subordinate and beholden to the Jews, which is admitted in the Masons' own books. On page 249 of Duncan's Ritual and Monitor it states that Masonry is subservient to Judaism, noting that a recipient of the Royal Arch degree pledges himself for the good of Masonry, generally, but the Jewish nation in particular. The undeniable fact that Freemasonry itself is based on the rites and rituals of the Jewish religion and the mysticism of the Jewish Kabbalah, is also purposefully glossed over by these deceivers. The Protocols of Zion make clear this intention to use subservient Gentiles, Shabbos Goyim, as scapegoats. Gentile Masonry blindly serves as a screen for us and our objects, but the plan of action of our force, even its very abiding place, remains for the whole people an unknown mystery. The Protocols of Zion, 4-2, those of us who name Jews as the prime mover behind the New World Order, which we have dubbed the Jew World Order, are ruthlessly suppressed, censored, harassed, terrorized, arrested, imprisoned, and in some extreme cases even killed. There is no Jesuit Internet Defense League that goes around trying to censor YouTube videos that are critical of the Jesuit order and the Vatican, but there is a Jewish Internet Defense Force, a predatory gang of scheming Jews who relentlessly go around sabotaging blogs and websites critical of Jews, Israel or Zionism, and who are responsible for the removal of thousands of videos as well as the banishment of thousands of YouTube channels and users of other video sharing websites. The Vatican doesn't have a paid army of internet trolls who roam around popular websites like YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, posting comments glorifying the Vatican and smearing all critics of the Vatican as anti-Catholic bigots. But the Israeli government, and its vast network of Zionist lobby organizations like the World Jewish Congress, Anti-Defamation League and B'nai B'rith, has on its payroll thousands of Jew zealots called Haspara roaming the net spewing pro-Zionist propaganda, attacking anyone critical of anything Jewish, Israeli or Zionist, as an anti-Semite and fascist Nazi. It's not Catholic Jesuits who are training their pupils to manipulate Wikipedia to favor their causes and ambitions. It's Zionist Jews who are doing that. Doesn't that tell you something? Only criminals attempting to evade exposure and censure would have to resort to such depraved, bottom-feeding behavior. Look at all of the prominent people over the years whose careers have been ruined simply for expressing an opinion or stating a fact that the Jews don't want the public to hear. For instance, Helen Thomas, a 50-year veteran of the White House press corps, was recently pressured to resign after she was recorded on videotape telling the Israeli Jews to get the hell out of Palestine. Shortly after the video surfaced, organized Jewry went on a rampage and witch hunt, unleashing a barrage of hate against the Honorable Helen Thomas for her brave remarks, even calling on journalism schools and groups to revoke any honors given to her in previous years. Reflecting on the debacle, Thomas told an interviewer, "You can't criticize Israel in this country and survive." In a speech, Thomas further remarked, "We are owned by propagandists against the Arabs, there's no question about that. Congress, the White House, and Hollywood, Wall Street, are owned by the Zionists. No question in my opinion. They put their money where their mouth is. We're being pushed into a wrong direction in every way." Then there was the incident involving Rick Sanchez, a veteran CNN news anchor with his own show called Rick's List. Sanchez was promptly fired from his position at CNN after he insinuated that the American mass media is controlled by Jews in a radio interview. Rick Sanchez, Jon Stewart a bigot, Jews run CNN and all media. The Huffington Post. October 1, 2010, why is it that Rick Sanchez, being a Gentile, is not permitted to state the obvious fact that Jews own and control the media when a Jewish reporter from the LA Times, Joel Stein, can freely, without any repercussions, write an article entitled "How Jewish is Hollywood?" in which he arrogantly brags about Jewish control of Hollywood, the news media, government and finance, stating, "Jews totally run Hollywood. As a proud Jew, I want America to know about our accomplishment. Yes, we control Hollywood. I don't care if Americans think we're running the news media, Hollywood, Wall Street or the government. I just care that we get to keep running them." Conservative journalist and writer Joe Sobran, a longtime syndicated columnist for the National Review until he was predictably fired for anti-Semitism, eloquently explained the befuddling nature of Jewish power. Sobran opined that if you want to make it in American politics you have to know all about it, but, at the same time, can't ever refer to it openly, for fear of the Jews. Talking about American politics without mentioning the Jews is a little like talking about the NBA without mentioning the Chicago Bulls. Not that the Jews are all powerful, let alone all bad, but they are successful, and therefore powerful enough, and their power is unique in being off limits to normal criticism even when it's highly visible. They themselves behave as if their success were a guilty secret, and they panic, and resort to accusations, as soon as the subject is raised. Jewish control of the major media in the media age makes the enforced silence both paradoxical and paralyzing. Survival in public life requires that you know all about it, but never refer to it. A hypocritical etiquette forces us to pretend that the Jews are powerless victims, and if you don't respect their victimhood, they'll destroy you. It's a phenomenal display not of wickedness, really, but of fierce ethnocentrism, a sort of furtive racial super-patriotism. In an essay reprinted in the May 27, 1996, issue of the New York Times, Ari Shavit, an Israeli columnist, reflected on the Israeli slaughter of more than 100 Lebanese civilians the month before. "We killed them out of a certain naive hubris, believing with absolute certitude that now, with the White House, the Senate, and much of the American media in our hands, the lives of others do not count as much as our own." This Israeli simply confirmed what many Americans already knew and had known for decades, which is that the Jewish, Israeli lobby, not Jesuits, occultists, Satanists or shape-shifting reptilians, control the White House, Congress and the Senate, like a marionette. Well-known political commentator, and former presidential candidate, Pat Buchanan, once declared, Capitol Hill is Israeli-occupied territory. Former U.S. Congressman Paul Findlay documented the reality of Buchanan's statement in a book called, They Dare to Speak Out, People and Institutions Confront Israel's Lobby. On page 161 of Findlay's book, he quotes Admiral Thomas Moorer, former chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, who, with blunt vexation at the Jewish-Israeli hold on the United States, said, "I've never seen a president, I don't care who he is, stand up to them, the Israelis. It just boggles the mind. They always get what they want. The Israelis know what is going on all the time. I got to the point where I wasn't writing anything down. If the American people understood what a grip those people have got on our government, they would rise up in arms. Our citizens certainly don't have any idea what goes on. British MP, Tom Dalyell, echoed these sentiments when he proclaimed, "A Jewish cabal have taken over the government in the United States and formed an unholy alliance with fundamentalist Christians." Former U.S. Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney has come out and blamed the pro-Israel lobby in America, AIPAC, ADL, AJC, ZO, etc., for ruining her political career. While in Congress, McKinney refused to sign the pro-Israel pledge and took a pro-Palestinian stance. Because of this, McKinney said war was declared on her by the Jewish lobby, who eventually ousted her from Congress by funding and supporting her political opponents. In 2009, she told an interviewer that more than 99% of Congress work for pro-Zionist Israeli interests. Former U.S. Congressman Jim Traficant was also targeted and then destroyed by the Jewish lobby for not being a groveling pro-Israel stooge, and for helping out a falsely accused so-called Nazi war criminal named John Demjanjuk, who the Jews attempted to crucify for war crimes that never happened. C. Collins, Michael Piper. Target Traficant. American Free Press, 2005. After serving a 7-year prison sentence on trumped-up corruption charges, he fearlessly came out swinging, stating in a television interview that Israel has a powerful stranglehold on the American government. They, the Jews, control both members of the House and the Senate. They have us involved in wars in which we have little or no interest. Our children are coming back in body bags. Our nation is bankrupt over these wars. And if you open your mouth, you get targeted. And if they don't beat you at the poll, they'll put you in prison. They're controlling much of our foreign policy. They're influencing much of our domestic policy. Wolfowitz, as Undersecretary of Defense, manipulated President Bush #2 back into Iraq. They've pushed definitely to try to get Bush before he left to move into Iran. We're conducting the expansionist policy of Israel, and everybody's afraid to say it. They control much of the media, they control much of the commerce of the country, and they control powerfully both bodies of the Congress. They own the Congress. University of Chicago professor John Mersheimer and Harvard academic Stephen Walt felt the perilous wrath of the Jew lobby. A vicious smear campaign was launched against them after they published a study exposing the insidious influence of Israeli lobby groups, principally the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, entitled, "The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy." Fox News reporter Carl Cameron confirmed the capability of the Jewish-Israeli lobby to silence and extirpate anyone they don't like. In his censored 4-part series on Israeli espionage against the United States, Cameron stated, investigators within the DINS and FBI have all told Fox News that to pursue or even suggest Israeli spying is considered career suicide. The Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations lists on its board of members 51 of America's most powerful Zionist hate organizations that wield tremendous influence in American political life. Jewish author J.J. Goldberg, in his book Jewish Power, Inside the America Jewish Establishment, pages 38 to 39, noted that there are approximately 300 national Jewish organizations in the United States with a combined budget estimated in the range of $6 billion, a sum greater than the gross national product of half the members of the United Nations. Cited in MacDonald, Kevin. The Culture of Critique, Chapter 7, and that doesn't even take into account the influence of individual wealthy Jews, Jewish families and Jewish Wall Street banking houses like Goldman Sachs, who mete out billions of dollars in campaign contributions to both the Democrat and Republican parties. C. Collins, Michael Piper. The New Babylon, Those Who Reign Supreme. American Free Press, 2009, Henry L. Fongold, writing in his book Jewish Power in America, Myth and Reality, stated that over 60% of campaign funds collected by the Democratic Party and a respectable percentage of Republican campaign funds stem from Jewish sources. Jews are quite candid about their attempt to manipulate the U.S. political process to their benefit. The New Yorker reported that at a conference, the Jewish supremacist Chaim Saban, an Israeli-American multi-billionaire media mogul, outlined several ways in which Jews can be influential in American politics, make donations to political parties, establish think tanks, and control media outlets. Couple all that with the Jewish death grip on the mass media and Hollywood, in conjunction with the Jewish stranglehold on world finance, and you have total Jewish ethnic domination of America, a virtual slave society reminiscent of the Soviet Union. This phenomena of Jewish targeting of political opponents is not limited to America, it's also quite apparent in Canada, Europe, Australia, and in pretty much all nations where Jews live. The ravenous Canadian Jewish Congress had a Liberal Party candidate named Leslie Hughes removed by her party for writing a 2003 article suggesting Israel had foreknowledge of 9/11. Not only did Israel have foreknowledge, they did it. Many Canadian patriots such as Ernst Zundel, Paul Ferrand, Terry Tremaine, Arthur Topham, Marc Lemire, and others, have been prosecuted by the tyrannical Canadian government, at the behest of evil Jewish lobby groups like the CJC, B'nai B'rith, Simon Wiesenthal Center, etc., for their internet writings criticizing Jews, Zionism or Israel. In 2009, an Australian anti-Zionist activist named Brendan O'Connell was arrested and charged under Australia's Orwellian racial vilification law after an altercation he had with two Zionist Jews who photographed him and other pro-Palestine activists at a rally without asking permission. For calling the two Zionist spies racist, homicidal maniacs and describing Judaism as a racist, homicidal cult. Statements totally congruent with the facts, the righteous patriot O'Connell was handed down a hefty 3-year jail sentence. If the Vatican and the Jesuits, instead of Jews, Israel, were the object of O'Connell's criticism, do you think he would be in prison right now? Of course not. The brilliant Douglas Reed, Britain's preeminent wiki correspondent for the London Times, went from being a celebrated, revered author, playwright and journalist with an army of fans, to a non-person scorned in the press and whose books publishers wouldn't touch with a 50-foot pole. Why? Because he started writing about the Jewish question, Zionism, and the long-term Jewish conspiracy to impose a world government on an enslaved humanity. See, The Controversy of Zion. Alexander Solzhenitsyn was the once famous Russian dissident, a survivor of a Soviet Gulag concentration camp who authored several books about the horrific experiences he, and his Russian countrymen, endured during the communist hell of Soviet Russia. See, The Gulag Archipelago I & II. Then he stopped being famous and now he is a non-person, now deceased. It happened because he told truths about the predominant Jewish role in the Bolshevik Revolution and the Soviet regime. See, 200 years together, so the Jews in the media wrote him out of history. He disappeared quicker than the people that Stalin did not like vanished. Another strong indication of the menacing Jewish stranglehold on the West is the wicked Stalinist-style state repression of Holocaust revisionists. In a well-organized censorship campaign, international Jewish supremacist groups, principally the World Jewish Congress, have successfully lobbied over a dozen European governments to criminalize Holocaust revisionist research. All around the world, Holocaust revisionist scholars and ordinary people who dare question any aspect of the farcical Holocaust dogma have been harassed, vilified, smeared, slandered, fined heavily, jailed, physically assaulted, terrorized, and in one instance murdered. Courageous and esteemed revisionist scholars such as Arthur Butz, Mark Weber, Germer Rudolph, Robert Forresson, Ernst Zundel, Frederick Tobin, Jürgen Graf, Carlo Mattagno, David Cole, Dietlieb Felterer, Carlos Porter, and many others, have suffered tremendous hardships because of their brilliant work debunking the Holocaust myth. Taking into account these simple observations, we can confidently assert that international Jewry are the cap of the pyramid of world power and influence. Everything else serves as a distraction and convenient smokescreen for this fundamental reality. Imperium Judaica, Bolshevism and Zionism as instruments of Jewish intrigue. Zionism and communism are but two arms of the Jewish world swindle. Jews have long been in control of the world, and continue to rule it today. This is revealed to us simply by observing the actions and words of the leaders of world Zionism and world communism, the twin vehicles of global Jewish subversion. With the advent of communism in the early 19th century, we saw the world plunge into a brutal chaos of social cataclysm and economic decay. Indeed, the goal of international communism was never to free the workers from capitalist oppression, but rather to further enslave them to a small cadre of self-declared and self-perpetuating elite vanguards who ruled their subjects with an iron fist. From its inception, communism and socialism was a Jewish endeavor to usurp the remaining Gentile nations free from Jewish control, plunder their wealth, and enslave and murder the best of their people. Communism's Talmudic Jewish roots couldn't be more apparent. The Jew Karl Marx, a descendant of a long line of Talmudic rabbis, is widely viewed as the principal progenitor of the ideology of communism. Less known, however, was communism's true prophet, the Jewish supremacist, Talmudist, and racist Zionist Moses Hess, whom Marx called the Red Rabbi. C. Avenari, Shlomo. Moses Hess, prophet of communism and Zionism, New Press, 1987. Hess was Marx's guide and teacher, and converted both Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels to communism. These two sordid snakes, Marx and Engels, went on to author the Communist Manifesto, Das Kapital, and other works, which crystallized this wretched brain trust of sanguinary scoundrels and their grandiose dreams of a one-world global communist dictatorship. In 1920, Winston Churchill, who later sold out to the Jews and became their tool, ominously warned the world of the menacing movement that was Jewish Bolshevism. Writing in the Illustrated Sunday Herald, February 8, 1920, page 5, Churchill opined, "This movement among the Jews is not new. From the days of Spartacus, Weishaupt to those of Karl Marx, and down to Trotsky, Russia, Bela Kun, Hungary, Rosa Luxemburg, Germany, and Emma Goldman, United States, this worldwide conspiracy for the overthrow of civilization and for the reconstitution of society on the basis of arrested development, of envious malevolence, and impossible equality, has been steadily growing. It played, as a modern writer, Mrs. Webster, has so ably shown, a definitely recognizable part in the tragedy of the French Revolution. It has been the mainspring of every subversive movement during the 19th century, and now at last this band of extraordinary personalities from the underworld of the great cities of Europe and America have gripped the Russian people by the hair of their heads and have become practically the undisputed masters of that enormous empire. There is no need to exaggerate the part played in the creation of Bolshevism and in the actual bringing about of the Russian Revolution by these international and for the most part atheistical Jews. It is certainly a very great one. It probably outweighs all others. With the notable exception of Lenin, the majority of the leading figures are Jews. Moreover, the principal inspiration and driving power comes from the Jewish leaders. Many misinformed patriots have been led to believe Churchill's Zionism versus Bolshevism, a struggle for the soul of the Jewish people article, quoted above, was somehow a courageous anti-Zionist statement. It was not. In fact, in the concluding paragraph of the article, Churchill gave a ringing endorsement of Zionism, encouraging Jews to follow the course of Zionism rather than Bolshevism. Zionism has already become a factor in the political convulsions of Russia, as a powerful competing influence in Bolshevik circles with the international communistic system. Nothing could be more significant than the fury with which Trotsky has attacked the Zionists generally, and Dr. Weissman in particular. The cruel penetration of his mind leaves him in no doubt that his schemes of a worldwide communistic state under Jewish domination are directly thwarted and hindered by this new ideal, which directs the energies and the hopes of Jews in every land towards a simpler, a truer, and a far more attainable goal. The struggle which is now beginning between the Zionist and Bolshevik Jews is little less than a struggle for the soul of the Jewish people. Churchill was, by his own admission, a radical Zionist who, as Prime Minister of Britain during wiki, hypocritically went on to collaborate with Bolshevism, establishing a cozy relationship with Joseph Stalin's genocidal Soviet Bolshevik regime. Churchill's abhorrence of Bolshevism disappeared as rapidly as his reservations about international Jewry as soon as it suited his personal ambitions. Even his Zionism versus Bolshevism article was disingenuous in the sense that he offered the world a Hobson's choice of Zionism or Bolshevism, a false dilemma in that both options produced the exact same result, a world government under Jewish domination as foretold in the Hebrew Old Testament.
So I've talked about forms of government, and I've advocated hedonistic, autarkic, aristocracy, but I haven't studied all of them. And aristocracy in the sense of rule of the best, not a privileged ruling class, but the people with the highest grades and the best results, etc., to create that perfect society and control the factors that control aging as fast as possible before we're grey and old, etc. Spending less on defense and more on negligible senescence.
Churchill knowingly failed to inform his readers that ideologies to Jews are like the many arms of Vishnu. They all emanate from the same place with the same goal, the desire for a new world order under Jewish rule. Apparent conflicts among Jews are more about tactics than disputes.
Against a new world order, against the global government, against power to the pedo, against centralization, for decentralization, power to the people, power to the peaceful, and for depolarization, making the rich a little poorer and the poor a little richer, to prevent nasty terrorist attacks and other crime.
About ultimate goals, Zionism and communism are but two tentacles of the same Talmudic monster, cut and fashioned out of the same Jewish cloth. History's most famous critic of Jewry, Adolf Hitler, eloquently explained this Jewish trick in his book, Mein Kampf. The Jews' domination in the state seems so assured that now not only can he call himself a Jew again,
but the main thing our anti-global government advocates is reversed active measures, so that means moralization, stabilization, generating an economic surge, and demilitarization, the opposite of normalization, as when the tanks roll in.
But he ruthlessly admits his ultimate national and political designs. A section of his race openly owns itself to be a foreign people, yet even here they lie. For while the Zionists try to make the rest of the world believe that the national consciousness of the Jew finds its satisfaction in the creation of a Palestinian state, the Jews again slyly dupe the dumb goyim. It doesn't even enter their heads to build up a Jewish state in Palestine for the purpose of living there. All they want is a central organization for their international world swindle, endowed with its own sovereign rights and removed from the intervention of other states, a haven for convicted scoundrels and a university for budding crooks. A. Hitler, English translation by Ralph Manheim, Mein Kampf, Houghton Mifflin, Boston, New York, 1971, pages 324 to 325. The mischievous and cruel doctrines of Marx and Hess were zealously adopted by the world's Jews, who saw in it an opportunity to crush the Gentiles once and for all. A Jew named Baruch Levy, in a letter to Karl Marx, stated that communism was, after all, merely a way to transfer all the wealth of the world into Jewish hands and so fulfill the messianic vision of the treacherous Talmud. The Jewish people as a whole will be its own Messiah. It will attain world dominion by the dissolution of other races, by the abolition of frontiers, the annihilation of monarchy, and by the establishment of a world republic in which the Jews will everywhere exercise the privilege of citizenship. In this new world order, the children of Israel will furnish all the leaders without encountering opposition. The governments of the different peoples forming the world republic will fall without difficulty into the hands of the Jews. It will then be possible for the Jewish rulers to abolish private property, and everywhere to make use of the resources of the state. Thus will the promise of the Talmud be fulfilled, in which is said that when the messianic time is come, the Jews will have all the property of the whole world in their hands. Baruch Levy, Letter to Karl Marx, La Revue de Paris, p. 54, June 1, 1928. Jewish author Bernard Lazare tells us that Karl Marx was indeed a Talmudist. He had that clear Talmudic mind which does not falter at the petty difficulties of fact. He was a Talmudist devoted to sociology and applying his native power of exegesis to the criticism of economic theory. He was inspired by that ancient Hebraic materialism, which, rejecting as too distant and doubtful the hope of an Eden after death, never ceased to dream of paradise realized on earth. But Marx was not merely a logician, he was also a rebel, an agitator, an acrid controversialist, and he derived his gift for sarcasm and invective, as Heine did, from his Jewish ancestry. Lazare, Bernard. Anti-Semitism, Its History and Causes, p. 129. In its article on Messianic movements, the Encyclopedia Judaica writes, in his letters to Leopold Zunz referred many times to the European Revolution of 1848 as the Messiah. Even many Jews who left the faith tended to invest secular liberation movements with a messianic glow. The Jewish supremacist Rabbi, Harry Witten, confessed that not only is communism Jewish, but that it is simply a mechanism for Jewish world dominion and the subjugation of all non-Jews, a fulfillment of the megalomaniacal messianic vision of the Torah and the Talmud. In his 1939 book, A Program for the Jews and an Answer to All Anti-Semites, A Program for Humanity, the racist rabbi wrote, "It is not an accident that Judaism gave birth to Marxism, and it is not an accident that the Jews readily took up Marxism. All this was in perfect accord with the progress of Judaism and the Jews. The Jews should realize that Jehovah no longer dwells in heaven, but he dwells in us right here on earth. We must no longer look up to Jehovah as above us and outside of us, but we must see him right within us." p. 148. Since the Jews are the
That's basically the idea. I am. In reality, there is no God. So, you could argue it's the wrong thing to do. But to be honorable and to keep all the real laws and... Well, I think the most important thing is that people are being depopulated, that they rise up against the people that want to depopulate them, and the mainstream media also has a task in this. Speech errors are also made by the synthetic telepathy machine. So it can be part of the program, and if they want to depopulate you, then they're your enemy, these Jesuits and Masons depopulating the earth. I am continuing the article for now.
The highest and most cultured people on earth, the Jews have a right to subordinate to themselves the rest of mankind and to be the masters over the whole earth. Now, indeed, this is the historic destiny of the Jews. p.
So basically, I don't believe in the concept of being Jewish, but most people do believe in that, and I've exposed religion in my previous broadcasts. One of the most important things is the fact that the Bible, the Incest Bible, is a collection of plagiarized polytheistic myths rolled into monotheism, which proves that God does not exist. So they are multiple religions in worship of several deities rolled into one monotheistic religion, basically. So I think George Soros is right, and Freud as well. Man made religion, God did not make man, so man made God. And religion is an illusion, religion is an abomination. You can look at all the wars, all the torture done in the name of several entities, not just Jehovah and Allah. And the Masons that also run the Apollo moon landing hoax and other hoaxes to hide the flying saucer technology in Antarctica, Project Bluebeam, fake alien invasion to depopulate Earth. What did I want to say? They can erase memory selectively, so it's not always easy. I'm also doing other stuff in the meantime. I've covered it in my previous broadcast. Oh yeah, these Freemasons are Luciferians. They run the Apollo moon landing hoax. And Freemasons are Luciferians. Most people know that by now, probably. Or not.
99. Judaism is communism, internationalism, the universal brotherhood of man, the emancipation of the working class and the human society. It is with these spiritual weapons that the Jews will conquer the world and the human race. p. 100. Peculiar isn't it that the supposed arch-anti-capitalist, Karl Marx, never spoke a negative word about the Jewish banking dynasty, the Rothschilds, the richest of the world's capitalist financiers, war profiteers and exploiters of the working class. This isn't so puzzling when you understand that Marx was working for the Rothschilds all along. See, Red Symphony, Mikhail Bakunin, the prominent anarcho-syndicalist thinker and rival of Karl Marx, assailed Jewish control of the world revolution, blasting Marx and his phony liberation ideology, Marxism, as a Rothschild-backed con for the Jewish financial oligarchy to undermine, loot and pillage the wealth of Gentile nations. Bakunin said. Himself a Jew, Marx has around him, in London and France, but especially in Germany, a multitude of more or less clever, intriguing, mobile, speculating Jews.
So I also want to say that I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm against rounding up all Jewish people or Muslims or any other group of people. And I've attempted to press charges of incitement to commit genocide against people that want to depopulate the earth, and the police have legally refused my right to press charges. And they've told me to go to the people that have tortured my teeth out of my mouth, the AIVD, the intelligence agencies. And they also control the judges with this death ray, Nikola Tesla directed energy torture weapon technology, DEW.
Such as Jews are everywhere, commercial or banking agents, writers, politicians, correspondents for newspapers of all shades, with one foot in the bank, the other in the socialist movement, and with their behinds sitting on the German daily press. They have taken possession of all of the newspapers, and you can imagine what kind of sickening literature they produce. Now, this entire Jewish world, which forms a single profiteering sect, a people of bloodsuckers, a single gluttonous parasite, closely and intimately united not only across national borders but across all differences of political opinion, this Jewish world today stands for the most part at the disposal of Marx and at the same time at the disposal of Rothschild.
So there are loads of Muslim Masons and also Chinese Freemasons, etc. Also the Chinese moon landing hoax. It's covered in my previous broadcasts, the 10 best reasons that prove beyond any reasonable doubt the Apollo moon landings are a hoax perpetrated by the NASA Freemasons. Because we know there cannot be sound on the moon, there cannot be sound in a vacuum, and on several of the original NASA videos we see that there's sound on the moon, and that's impossible. So we are 100% certain that it was shot in a studio, perhaps Area 51, a very big studio. And they've used the same backdrops, etc., and multiple light sources and everything. It's in the previous broadcasts. On this channel, or BC Hoffman on YouTube. So please like and subscribe, and thank you all for your likes and spreading the info for a better timeline. You're the best. Peace.
I am certain that Rothschild for his part greatly values the merits of Marx, and that Marx for his part feels instinctive attraction and great respect for Rothschild. This may seem strange. What can there be in common between communism and the large banks? Oh, the communism of Marx seeks enormous centralization in the state, and where such exists, there must inevitably be a central state bank, and where such a bank exists, the parasitic Jewish nation, which speculates on the work of the people, will always find a way to prevail. Michael Bakunin.
So the best type of government may be a combination of several government types, forms of government, and it can also be a new form of government. So let me know what you all think is the best type, best form of government in the comments. Most would probably write democracy, but the US is a plutocracy because running for president takes a lot of money. You can see these financiers, President Trump's Jewish cabal, etc. Also covered on many other websites.
Philomekinter's Les Juifs, 1869. Benjamin Disraeli, the Jewish Prime Minister of England from 1874-1880. Repeatedly warned about the machinations of his trouble-making kinsman. In his novel, Königsspy, Disraeli made one of his characters say, "I had on my arrival, at St. Petersburg."
I don't know if I'd call it a cabal. I'd have to check the term basically. So they're financiers and people in the government, etc.
An interview with the Russian Minister of Finance, Count Kanarin. I beheld the son of a Lithuanian Jew. I had an audience on my arrival at Madrid with the Spanish minister. I beheld one like myself, the son of an Nuovo Cristiano, a Jew of Aragon. In consequence of that transpired at Madrid, I went straight to consult the president of the French Council. I beheld the son of a French Jew. We fixed on Prussia. Count Tarnum entered the cabinet, and I beheld a Prussian Jew. So you see, my dear Königsspy, that the world is governed by very different personages to what is imagined by those who are not behind the scenes. Then, 4 years after the Jewish engineered outbreaks of 1848, Disraeli returned to the subject in his book Lord George Bentinck, stating, "The influence of the Jews may be traced in the last outbreak of the destructive principle in Europe."
So I read here via Google that a cabal is a secret political clique or faction. And these names are known, so it's not really secret, but perhaps they mean that there are so many Jewish people in it that it's a secret basically. Or whatever.
An insurrection takes place against tradition and aristocracy, against religion and property. The natural equality of men and the abrogation of property are proclaimed by the secret societies who form provisional governments, and men of Jewish race are found at the head of every one of them. Chaim Weizmann, the 20th century's preeminent Zionist influence peddler, architect of the Balfour Declaration, and first president of Israel, is quoted as saying, A beneficent protection which God has instituted in the life of the Jew is that he has dispersed him all over the world. Jewish Guardian, October 8, 1920. Now compare this with the last clause of Protocol number 11, of the Protocols of Zion. God has granted to us, his chosen people, the gift of dispersion, and from this, which appears to all eyes to be our weakness, has come forth all our strength, which has now brought us to the threshold of sovereignty over all the world. The remarkable similarity between Wiseman's pronouncement and the passage from the Protocols proves that the Jewish learned elders exist, Wiseman chief among them. This hidden hand of Jews was subtly identified by Walter Rathenau, 1867–1922, a German Jewish industrialist, writer, and statesman who served as Germany's foreign minister during the Weimar Republic. Writing in the Wiener Freie Presse, December 24, 1912, he said, 300 men, each of whom knows all the others, govern the fate of the European continent, and they elect their successors from their entourage. This reality was confirmed by Jean Iseult, a Jewish professor at the College of France and a member of the Jewish Masonic Secret Society Alliance Israelite Universelle. Writing in his 1926 book Paris, Capital of Religions, Iseult said, I certainly do not want to relinquish their magisterium temporal the 300 bankers who, at the moment, dominate the world. At the Zionist Congress held in Basel in 1898, Dr. Mandelstam, a professor at the University of Kiev, proclaimed, the Jews energetically reject the idea of fusion with the other nationalities and cling firmly to their historical hope of world empire. Chamberlain, Houston Stewart. Foundations of the 19th Century, p. 335. The Talmudic Jew David Wolfsohn was Theodor Herzl's successor as leader of World Zionism and chairman of the World Zionist Organization, WZO. He presided over the Zionist Congress at The Hague in 1907 and gave the opening and closing speeches. The New York Times tells us that in his closing address Wolfsohn pleaded for more unity among the Jews and said that Jewry eventually must conquer the world. Zionist leader dies. David Wolfsohn was once chairman of International Committee. The New York Times. September 17, 1914. In 1922 at a Zionist conference in Carlsbad, California, Zionist leader Nehem Sokolow boastfully gloated that the League of Nations, predecessor of the United Nations, was a Jewish construct and tool, and that Jerusalem will one day be capital of the world upon the realization of their dark plans. The League of Nations is a Jewish idea, and Jerusalem someday will become the capital of the world's peace. We Jews throughout the world will make the League's struggle our own and will not rest until there is ultimate victory. Says Jews of World will back League. Dr. Sokolow tells Zionist Congress Jerusalem will be international peace capital. The New York Times. August 28, 1922. Theodore Newman Kaufman was an American Jew who published a book in 1941 calling for the extermination of the entire German race and nation in a final solution of sterilization. C. Kaufman, Theodore and Germany Must Perish, Newark, N.J., Argyle Press, 1941. In the same year of his book's publication, this devilish Jew gave an interview to the Canadian Jewish Chronicle in which he fervently articulated his desire not only for the annihilation of old German Gentiles, but also for Jewish world government, stating, I believe that the Jews have a mission in life. They must see to it that the nations of the world get together in one vast confederation. Union now is the beginning of this. Slowly but surely the world will develop into paradise, we will have perpetual peace. And the Jews will do the most to bring about this confederation, because they have the most to gain. Kaufman's call for union now was strangely similar to a proclamation made by Adolphe Crémax, a prominent French Jewish lawyer and statesman who founded the Jewish Masonic Order Alliance Israelite Universelle in Paris in 1860. At an alliance meeting Crémax declared in true Protocols style, the alliance is not limited to our cult. It voices its appeal to all cults and wants to penetrate in all religions, as it has penetrated into all countries. Let us endeavor boldly to bring about the union of all cults under one flag of union and progress, such is the motto of humanity. Kremach and his secretive Jewish order were named as the prime conspirators in the formulation of the Protocols of Zion, in an enlightening essay entitled, The Protocols of the Ruffle-Crested Kikes of Zion. In 1940, Arthur Greenwood, the deputy leader of the British Labour Party and member of the British War Cabinet, made a vocal pledge to American Jewry that upon the defeat of the Axis powers in Wiki he would do his utmost to help realize the formation of a new world order in the world, led and dominated by the Jews, the groveling Zionist stooge proclaimed. When we have achieved victory, as we assuredly shall, the nations will have the opportunity of establishing a new world order. In such a world it is our confident hope that the conscience of civilized humanity would demand that the wrongs suffered by the Jewish people in so many countries should be righted, he added. In the rebuilding of civilized society after the war, there should and will be a real opportunity for Jews everywhere to make a distinctive and constructive contribution. See this facsimile of the New York Times article. Treaty of 1919 which carved Germany into pieces after WWI. In his address to the United Nations Atomic Energy Commission on the 14th of June, 1946, Baruch made the following protocolist, one worldist pronouncement. Behind the black portent of the new atomic age lies a hope which, seized upon with faith, can work out salvation. Let us not deceive ourselves. We must elect world peace or world destruction. Peace is never long preserved by weight of metal or by an armament race. Peace can be made tranquil and secure only by understanding and agreement fortified by sanctions. We must embrace international cooperation or international disintegration. Baruch also predicted the Cold War between the US and the USSR. In 1948,